All right, gentlemen and ladies, welcome to my YouTube channel. So the last time we looked at introduction to contract, and if you have not watched that video, please go back and watch the video because we are building on top of what we already know from that video. And at the end of that particular video, we introduce the elements of contract, and we say that we have elements of contract: offer, acceptance, intention to create legal relations, capacity. Of course, we also looked at the criticisms or the arguments that suggested that capacity is not a part of the elements of the contract. Of course, capacity was put in there by Toby JCA in the case of Bilante against Orient Bank. Please read this case, Bilante against Orient Bank. You will see a lot of it. When you read it, you will understand offer and acceptance because you see a lot of it in offer, acceptance, and even consideration. So please, if you have not subscribed, do well to subscribe and share this video to people that you know would need this video. For example, you might think you don't need the video, but you actually do. Yeah, but most importantly, share to 200 level students in law faculties and all that. So now, what are we doing today? We are taking them ad seriatim. Today, we'll be looking at offer. Now, what is an offer? Now, I am not an authority in law, so I will quote law authorities. So the person that I have been quoting since is Itse Sage. And of course, this is also a good time for me to tell you to get this book. Anyway, you can get any other book. There are many beautiful books in the market on law of contract, but this one, you will understand it very, very well. Of course, it is not a paid advert. It's just something that worked for me that I'm saying it should also probably work for you. So what is an offer? Itse Sage has come up with this definition of offer, saying that offer is a definite undertaking or promise made by a party with an intention that it will be binding on him once it is accepted by the other party. So if somebody makes a definite undertaking, please, if you do this, this is what I will do. Undertaking or promise. If you do this, so undertaking or promise, and with the intention that, okay, if you accept this thing that I'm saying, if you accept the terms of this thing that I'm saying, then I will be bound by whatever it is that I've promised you. I am making an offer. Please buy this marker from me, 100 naira. And if you accept, it means that I am bound to sell this marker to you for 100 naira. That is what an offer is. In fact, for the contract to be complete, we must first start with an offer. Because as we will see when we get to acceptance, and especially when we get to acceptance in ignorance of an offer, you would understand that it is impossible to accept if an offer has not been made. So offer is the first thing that will go forth. Then you now have acceptance, then furnishing of consideration, which brings in the notion of quid pro quo. So when you furnish consideration, you would have the locus standi, or you would have the right to sue once the other person has not furnished his own consideration. So that is the meaning of offer. And it is important to note that offer must be precise and unequivocal, leaving no room for speculations or conjecture. So if an offer is, when you look at that particular offer, you are thinking, is this an offer? Is this not an offer? Then there was a problem. An offer should be precise. It should be unequivocal. It should be clear. You should not say. You should not look at an offer and say, is this really an offer? So that is it. Offer must be precise, unequivocal, leaving no room for speculation or conjecture. So an offer must be clear. It must be precise. Now, who makes an offer? The person that makes an offer, we call the person an offeror, and the person that the offer is being made to, we call the person an offeree. So most of the times I might be using the words offeror and offeree, so in order for you to understand what I am saying. So we continue. When you look at offer, it has some kind of similarities with invitation to treat. So most of the times, people mistaking invitation to treat with offer. They tend to have these intertwining characteristics. So what is now the difference between offer and invitation to treat? Because you will see these things in your exams, especially if you're a 200 level student, and even if you are not a 200 level student of law, even if you are just watching this video to know about law and to know about law of contract, you would have to differentiate when an offer is being made and when an invitation to treat is being made. Because an invitation to treat will not give birth to a contract once it is accepted. So an invitation to treat, if you accept an invitation to treat, the acceptance of that invitation to treat is now the offer. So you will not be confused on when you have accepted an invitation to treat instead of actually making an offer. You now take it that your acceptance of that invitation to treat is now the acceptance. So that is, just take this habit in your back of your mind. Offer, we've explained what offer is. What is invitation to treat? Invitation to treat is very simple. Invitation to make offer. Come and make offer. Yeah. So I will explain invitation to treat under these headings: auctions, display of goods in shelf, invitation to tender, buses, trains, taxis, keke, etc. kind of contract. Now, when permit me, because it will be easier to understand if I start with explaining display of goods in shelves. So once you enter inside your supermarket, your ShopRite, your Market Square, or whatever, wherever it is you go to buy your groceries, and you see these groceries being put on shelves, is it the shop that is making offer to you to come and buy, that if you pick, you have accepted the offer? Or will you be the one making the offer to the shop once you pick and you go to the counter? So now, the answer, let me not even waste time, so that, because I wanted to give you time to think. The answer is that you are the one picking the goods and going to make the offer at the counter, while the shop is the people that are accepting the offer. Now, that display of goods is now the invitation for you to come and make the offer, which is called what? Invitation. Is it invitation to treat? So that is under display of goods. Now you can see the case of Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain against Boots Cash Chemist. Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain against Boots Cash Chemist. That is for display of goods in shelf. That is a particular example of invitation to treat. Another example of invitation to treat is when we look at auctions. Now, most of you know about auctions, where you bid the highest bidder. Hey, hey, going, gone. Bah, the person sold. Now, in auctions, who makes the offer? Now, let me give you a test in order to know when a contract is being made. Because sometimes your lecturers might want to paint a scenario and to ask you where, advise the parties on whether or not there is a contract existing between them. Now, in order for you to know whether a contract has existed, or in order for you to know when it has not ripened into a contract yet, you have to note when it is practically impossible for any of the parties to withdraw. Now, let us use that display of goods as our scenario or as our example. If you enter inside Market Square and you pick, let's say, Milo, and you put it inside your what's that thing called? I used to call it wheelbarrow. You put it inside your basket or your throttle or your anything, and you are walking with it, and you now see Bonvita, and you now say, I don't, it's like, I prefer Bonvita, I don't like Milo. You can go back and put back the Milo and go and carry Bonvita. In fact, I even go in, you can say, in fact, I am not in the mood to shop again. You can put back the Bonvita and you can walk away. You can withdraw at that point. Why? Because it is not yet binding on you. Because a contract has not existed between you and the shop. Now, if you carry the goods, and you go to the counter and you pay and you carry it, can you now come back and drop it back and say you're not buying again? Of course, yeah. Well, when you look at your consumer protection law, it's possible that you can have a refund, but contractually, it is practically impossible to withdraw from that particular contract without any form of liability. Yeah, so that is it. So when we go to the auctions, we now look at, okay, when does the contract start? When does the offer, who makes the offer? Is it the auctioneer that makes the offer to everybody and then the bidders will now accept, or is it the bidders that make the offers to the auctioneer? Now, very simple. It is the bidders that makes the offer to the auctioneer. The auctioneer is there inviting bidders. So the auctioneer is the person doing the invitation to treat, telling invitation for offers. So when you bid, hey, I bid this one, I bid 100 naira. No, me 200. Okay, 300 going, 400, 400, 400, 400 going. Nobody, 400 sold. Bah, that is unction. And in pain against cave, yes, unction. The locus classicus, pain versus cave, it developed that um, um, it developed the contractual authority. It developed the contractual principle of auctions, and it says that a contract is settled or is sealed once the auctioneer's hammer falls. So as long as the auctioneer hammer has not fallen, anybody can bid. Now, please permit me to talk about referential bids because it is very, very important because your lecturers can also set a question around referential bids. Now, what are referential bids? If I say, please, I am bidding 200,000, but in case another person bids above my 200,000, I will add 50,000 on top of that one that the person has bidded on top of me. So that 50,000 additional will not be effective until I have another bidder that has bidded above me. Now, I am not speaking too much grammar. What I am saying is very simple. Referential bid is like a secondary kind of bid that say, okay, I am bidding 200,000, yeah? But I know that some people can want to come and bid above me. So anybody that bids above me, I am bidding 200,000, but I have another bid of 100,000, which would be on this 200,000 that I've bidded. If another bid is now above my 200,000, you understand? So there's a particular case. Hold on, let me. In Havala Investment Limited against Royal Trust Company of Canada, they talked about this referential bid. There, A bidded 2,175,000. B bidded 2,100,000. And B said, on top of this, my 2,100,000, if anybody bids above me, please add more $100,000 on top of this in case anybody bids. Now, this person bidded and said, add 100,000 if anybody bids above me. Now, this one bidded above him, obviously. And of course, the auctioneer now gave the winning bid to this person because of this 100,000 additional that he says that will take effect when another person has bidded above him. So this particular person went to court. The person that did 2,175,000 went to court, and the court actually held that he was the one that won the bid. Why? Because referential bid is invalid in law. Invalid. So that is what I just wanted to point out. Referential bid is invalid in laws. So we've looked at display of goods in shelf, we looked at auctions, we are looking at invitation to tender now. So when you see government wants to build roads, wants to build some kind of project, and they will call for offers, they will call for engineering companies. If you know you're an engineering company and you meet the requirements that have been set, of course, in the advertisement, you will see the requirements. Yes, now you can now come and you will bid. When you bid, the government will now accept some people, or maybe accept a particular engineering company that fits to what he wants to, that fits to what it wants to do, it wants to achieve. And when the invitation to tender is now like the invitation to treat, yeah, because it is making the invitation open to everybody. All the engineering company come, so all the engineering company will come and make a bid, will come and make an offer. So it is now the government that will now sit back and choose the offer that the government likes. So that is invitation to tender. So I just use government because, but there are still other people that can do this invitation to tender, not just only government. So buses, trains, taxis, keke, etc. So it is very clear. Okay, maybe not that clear, but in buses and trains, where does an offer start? Who would you say is the person that is doing the invitation to treat? Is it you that is standing on the road waiting for keke? Or is it the keke person that is coming to you that will invite you to make an offer? Or are you the one standing on the road inviting the keke people to come and make an offer? Remember the test I gave you. I said that in order for you to know when a contract has been concluded or has been sealed, it is in that particular situation where none of the parties can easily withdraw. So when can you say that any of the parties in a keke and passenger relationship or contractual relationship, when is it impossible for them to withdraw? I am sure you are thinking that is when you have already entered the keke and the keke is already moving. So it is practically impossible for you to withdraw. Of course, when you want to go out and say, please, I forgot something, depending on how long or how the distance that he has covered, you have to pay for the one that you have covered. Understand? So there must be some kind of liability if you choose to withdraw. So for you to enter, making it that situation or circumstance where it is impossible to leave the contract, it means that that entering of the passenger is the acceptance, which therefore means that the offer is being made by the keke person, which also now implies that you standing on the road is now the invitation to treat. So you are inviting the keke people to make an offer for you to accept by entering or by conduct, and you now go. Remember, we looked at when we talked about implied contract in the last video. If you have not watched the last video, go and watch it. When we talked about implied contract, and we looked at acceptance and contracts, the court construing our conduct, since there is no expressly stated contract. So we now say that, entering the keke is also a way of acceptance by conduct. And so that is it. So please, when we come next time, we will look at acceptance. And we look at acceptance. When we look at acceptance, we look at the meaning of acceptance. We look at invalid forms of acceptance. When you talk about counter offers, you talk about cross offers, you talk about acceptance in ignorance of an offer, you talk about the acceptance of tender and etc. So until I come your way next time, please do well to stay away from trouble because our courts are on vacation. And thank you very much for listening. Bye bye.